has traveled the country and has personally visited every county in New York State, listening to people's concerns. The Sharpe Way is a show where answers, solutions, and common ground can be found so that together we can forge a new way forward. The Sharpe Way is the way to mutual respect, where no one has to convert to be heard, because you can be as liberal or as conservative as you want, as long as you aren't forcing your beliefs on others. Welcome to Sharpe Way Radio.
Oh, yes, it is Larry Sharpe. Sharpe Way Radio here on the Voice of Liberty in glorious Western New York. Want to let you know that if you want to talk to me after the first break, 585-346-3000. I was thinking about a story that I had told a while ago, and I wanted to bring it up again. And it was that of a person who I knew. And I tell it generically because I don't want the person to be upset. Many years ago. But I want you to imagine for a minute, if you would. You are a parent. You're a parent of in this case, a boy. Doesn't matter, it could be a girl. But I'm going to say boy so I keep talking. And you have coddled this young man his entire life. You've never pushed him to have good grades in school. You've never pushed him to be creative. You never pushed him to find a trade. You've never encouraged him to make his own money. Imagine if you had done all of those things. Never encouraged him, never pushed him, never shown him an example of him doing something to make himself better. He graduates high school, barely. Doesn't really want to go to college. You don't encourage him, you don't push him, nothing. You let him stay in your house. You don't make him pay rent. He says, I don't want to get a job. You go, okay. Look, I love you, my son. I'm not going to make you get a job. So don't pay rent. Don't get a job. So he says, I want to play video games. Can you buy me some video games? You go, I'm your, father. I love you. I'm your mother. I love you. I'm going to give you a bunch of video games. Play, enjoy. You don't push him to find a girlfriend. You don't push him to find friends. You don't encourage him to go to school, learn something. Nothing. Just let him sit there. Now he's 30 years old. You've never encouraged him, never pushed him, never required him, never even had the assumption that he could do any of those things. Nothing. And you supported him financially, emotionally, food, shelter. You supported him. Now he's 30. The people around you are going, dude, what are you doing? They've been saying it for years. What's wrong with you? What are you doing? You're messing your kid up. You go, stop. He's my kid. Stop. What are you doing? Look, eventually it's going to come back to bite you. Well, now you're considering retiring. You want to pack up and leave. You want to sell your house. We got a problem now. What are you going to do with your kid? Well, he's 30. He's an adult. So he should go out and get a job and live on his own. And of course, people would say, yes, that makes total sense. He's a 30-year-old man. He should be able to go out and find an answer, whatever that answer is, whether that's getting a roommate, going to college, getting an apartment, getting a job, whatever. He should be able to find an answer as a 30-year-old man. He should not have to rely on you completely. Should not have to, right? Everyone would think that. Now someone might go, wait a minute. What if he had a problem? Like, what if he had an addiction issue? Or what if he was in an accident and was disabled in some way? What if he had an unfortunate, issue? Maybe he went to prison. Okay, I could see that. Then maybe he needs some help and then get him off on his way. But in our story, none of that's true. There was no addiction. There was no prison. There was no accident. There was no misfortune. There was no mistakes being made on his part. But he's 30. You got to get him out now, right? It's the fair thing to do, isn't it? Or is it? Or is this partially, if not mostly, your fault? Is it? Or is it his fault for saying, looking around, recognizing the world, going, my mom or my dad is not doing a good job. I need to get out. Or is it your fault for being that terrible parent, encouraging him, supporting him to be the person that he is now? You could argue either of those. But what I would argue is that's too much of New York State, our state right now, giving people so much for so long just to keep them in a bad spot, not helping them, those who've fallen down, to get back up and to be great, or helping people who've fallen down either of their own decisions or bad luck or some combination, and then getting them back up so they can be on their own. Oh, that's not what New York State does. That's not what New York City does. New York City gives it everything they can to keep you in your spot, to keep you in your room and not go out and get that job. They go out of their way to do that. But sadly, now New York State's in trouble. And let me ask you, if you're that parent and you tell your kid, look, kid, you're 30. I got to pack up and move to Florida, or I got to go do something. I got to, I'm retiring. I can't afford you anymore. Whatever. What is that kid going to do? Is that kid going to say, Dad, Mom, you're right. I need to get up on my own 2 feet. And of course not. They're going to say, no, you owe me, Mom. You owe me, Dad. What am I supposed to do? That's what he's going to say. He is. He's not going to take responsibility. Why? You've trained him not to. Why would he? Well, now New York is having problems. New York City is having pension problems. Can't pay the pensions anymore. Can't pay the Medicare, Medicaid as much as it used to. Can't give the medical benefits as it used to. Now, are the people going, you know what? You're right. We have to find answers? No. They're like, you owe me. You better give me more. New York has over 1 million retirees, pensioners from New York City, New York State, that are getting benefits, and they're under 65. So they don't get Medicaid, Medicare. We're paying for that. About a third of them don't live in New York State or New York City. They live someplace else. So who pays for that? Taxpayers. Yes, we pay for that. Are they now going, hey, it's not fair. I live in Florida. No. They're like, I paid into it. Give it to me. I understand them. I understand a 30-year-old. If I was a 30-year-old, I'd be thinking the same thing. If I was the pensioner, I'd be thinking the same thing. But they treated us like that kid. And now when that kid gets upset, the state gets upset. But the state set him up. And now who's not the pensioner gets upset because we got to pay for it. We're all upset. You might go, Larry, well, how much is this? Just in New York City owes, New York City is owed $3.4 billion. Just New York City. Just from those pensioners. There's over a $600 million deficit every year, has been. Now, people all the time will tell you this. You'll hear it. The controller will say it. He'll go on TV and say it. No, it's solid. It's solidified. All these pensions are just great. And he's not wrong. Because we have a plan. I don't know if you knew this or not. When the pensions fail, by law, the taxpayers fill it. Well, yeah. If no matter what I do, the taxpayer writes me a check, I'm good, right? Larry, can you pay your rent? Doesn't matter. What do you mean it doesn't matter? Well, because if I don't, the taxpayers pay it. Oh, really? Yeah, I'm solvent. I'm good. But you didn't make any money. Doesn't matter. Taxpayer pays. Oh, so you're solvent? I'm good. Don't worry about my rent. Taxpayer pays it. If I make the money, I pay it. If I don't make it, I'm good. And in fact, if I'm short, like if I'm like a couple $100 short on my rent, taxpayers pay it. That's how our pension system works in New York State. In fact, most states. But that's how it is. That's how he can say it's totally solvent. He's not wrong. As long as we're paying taxes, it's solvent. That's how that works. You know, go, Larry, but wait, you've told me more than once, we're losing people. Yes. You told me more than once, the state's in a lot of debt. Yes. You told me more than once, the state's losing billions of dollars due to migration. Yes. Larry, this sounds unsustainable. Ding, ding, ding. What I've been saying for years. I brought this up in 2017. Yes, I brought this up 8 years ago, talking about how this system was unsustainable. It had to fail at one point. It just has to. It's unsustainable. We're losing population. We're getting more and more retirees. And worse, the retirees are leaving New York State. At least if they stay in New York, they spend their money in our economy and grow our economy. Okay. Look, I'm not against people getting their pensions. I'm not. You work for it, get your pension. I'm mad at you for that. I would like you to stay here, but I'm not mad at you for leaving because we've made the state unlivable. We need to make our state livable so the retirees stay here and they spend their pensions here instead of Florida or Tennessee or Texas, which is where they're going. North Carolina, South Carolina. They're going there. This is where we are now. More and more people looking for the government for help for the most important things. Medicare, Medicaid. If you don't know this, over half of New Yorkers are somehow on Medicaid and Medicare. Over half. Is that insane? There's about 7 million people in New York State on Medicaid. Not Medicare, right? Medicare's 65 or older retirees. About 4 million or so on that. About 7 million on Medicaid. Who's paying for that? Just more taxpayers. That's who's paying for that. And now they're talking about, we're going to change the system. So now you got to pay extra money per year. And they're unhappy. I don't want to pay any money. I just want my benefits. You might go, Larry, they should be reasonable. Why? We've been coddling them for decades. They're the 30-year-old now. We've been coddling them for decades. Why would they expect anything else? Why would they expect us to not pay for their rent? Why would they expect us to not pay for their Medicare? We've been doing it for decades. Am I crazy? Or just a bad parent? Maybe both. You can tell me. 585-346-3000. Larry Sharpe on the Voice of Liberty. Sharpe Way Radio, back with your calls and your chat. I see you after the break.
For the last couple of years, Joe Robach has been telling you about Flower City Collision in Henrietta, saying that it was started by a veteran along with his son, Zach. Hi, my name is Greg Sadwick, and I am that veteran. I want to thank the WYSL listeners for their support over the last couple of years. During those years, not only have I experienced the gratification of providing you the best repairs and customer service, it has also allowed me the opportunity to see my son develop as a young professional. So remember, Flower City Collision for your collision repair needs. And thank you for supporting our locally owned family business.
Most banks offer you a choice. Or maybe it would be better to say they demand a choice. Technology so you can bank like you want to, or relationships so you can get advice when you need it. But when you choose to bank with Tompkins, you can have it all. Powerful technology and the power of a face-to-face talk about your future. Because both are part of the best banking relationship you'll ever have. Tompkins, your bank of choice. Open an account today at tompkinsbank.com.
Only available in the WYSL store at WYSL1040.com. Official top quality tees, hoodies depicting the colorful WYSL logo or the already famous Mount Worstmore line of merch depicting Mount Rushmore style are for worst presidents. Of course, you know who is front and center up on that mountain. WYSL official items make perfect gifts, or they're a great way for you to make a personal statement. Locally produced and sold only in the WYSL store at WYSL1040.com.
Sharpe Way Radio on the WYSL station.
Oh, yes, it is Larry Sharpe here on Sharpe Way Radio, on the Voice of Liberty in amazing Western New York. 585-346-3000 is the number. And I was talking about how we in New York have decided how we're going to take care of our people and in a way set them up for failure. Because there's another thing happening, not just in New York City, which is always a disaster, but upstate too. Right? We have many of our farmers just relying on federal government funds or state funds to assist them in making it easier for farm to table, to assist them in advertisements, showing people, marketing, how to do this. Now, is that a bad thing? No worse than anything else, right? Government wants to help people out, helps them out, help out farmers, you help out other people, help out farmers too, right? All good. But the problem is the same issue. If you've been accustomed to me giving you vouchers to pay your rent, and now you got to go pay your rent, and you haven't had to do that for 15, 20 years, you're not ready for that. You're not prepared for that. Even if you want to, if I just go, tomorrow you're not getting your voucher, how can you deal with that? It's the 30-year-old. How can a 30-year-old go get a job when they've never had a job? How can they go get a skill when they've never needed to have a skill? How do I pay my rent when I haven't had to pay my rent in 12 years? Well, how do I improve my farm when I haven't had to market for it in X number of years? And all of a sudden it's gone. That's what's happening. So what happens next? Instead of us going, oh, wait, let me now find an answer in my community to fix this, what are most people doing? Complaining to government for more. Complaining for more. And what have I said for years here? The answer for New York State has always been the same thing, which is more money from the federal government. The answer, Uncle Joe's going to write me a check. Well, Uncle Joe's gone. I've been saying that for months. Uncle Joe is gone. Uncle Don's here now. He may not want to write that check. What are you going to do now? You're going to complain. You're going to get mad. You're going to blame. That's the problem, right? That's the problem. We have not. Look, people do get into trouble, whether by bad luck, bad decisions, or some combination. All the time, we are human beings. I'm not saying we shouldn't be helping people. Of course we should. I've told you ideas on how to do that for years. The issue is community should be doing it. Because imagine for a second, reverse this. Now I have someone who's in trouble, either through bad luck, bad decisions, some combination. And now they need their rent paid. Well, if it's the government, they get a voucher program, they get it paid for. The government never wants them to come off, ever, because it's more jobs for them. So they stay on for years, no rush to get off. Please don't work too much because you'll lose your benefits. So stay on. But what if it was community? And it's a community group. Gets together. Says, you're in trouble, man. I get it. We're going to put together some cash for you for 6 months to get you on your feet. We're going to help you get on your feet. Two things happen. One, you need to get on your feet. Next, they're going to help you get on your feet. So you will feel a sense of obligation to your community. You won't feel a sense of entitlement. You will feel a sense of obligation to your community, which is what we all should feel. Not required to, obviously. I am libertarian, not required to. You should, though. I can should you all day long. So I'm going to should you. You should. You don't have to. What happens when it's invisible government that just keeps writing you checks magically? When there's no requirement, when there's no nothing, what happens then? Now it's you have a sense of entitlement, not obligation. And we see it everywhere. I want to help people. I want communities to. This is another example of government failing horribly. And what happens in the long run? The people who are in the worst spots suffer the most. If I'm wealthy, if I'm doing good, this is all some story I read. It's some story that the poor's have to deal with. because I'm wealthy. I don't care about these poors. I've got my ways of avoiding my taxes, whatever. I don't care. But when it's actually people in my community, in my neighborhood, oh, I feel that. Because that sense of entitlement continues. Because now, when I don't get my check, now when they cut my benefits that I feel entitled to, no obligation to, when I have no ownership in my community, I don't have a problem absolutely trashing my community. I don't have a problem robbing. I don't have a problem hurting. I don't have a problem laying in the park. I don't have a problem littering, graffiti. I don't have a problem with that. I'm entitled. I'll take what I can take. And these big companies, they're all like big government. I can take. Of course I can, because I'm entitled. And you might be laughing, might be giggling at that. It's true. And you see it throughout New York City, and you see it throughout most cities. When you add government, you remove community. When you remove community, you remove accountability, you remove obligation, and you install entitlement. And that's what we see right now. Let me grab a couple comments if I could. Mike Voss is in the house. He answers my question. Yes, we do treat them like children. New York Dem single party rule, accurate, tries hard to live up to partisan ideology of progressives, that only elites in government can best run our lives. True, that is absolutely their mindset, right? I'm better than you, I'm smarter than you, so do as I say. I'm basically your mom or your dad. Accurate. He goes on to say, it's insulting and wrong. The results empirically prove this. I can't argue with that, Mike. I'm just gonna do my old yes, yes, and yes. There we go. John says, Kathy is our mother and Cuomo was our father. They're both helicopter parents. Yes, and to Mike's point, the state keeps getting worse. The funny part is, I wonder which parts of them honestly believe it, which parts actually are just using us, right? When I look at someone like our past monarch, King Cuomo II, grabber of butts, killer of grandparents, when I think about him, I don't think he actually wanted to help us. I think he just wanted power and did what he wanted and thought he was better than us, and that was that. But there's a part of me that thinks, you tell me if I'm wrong, John, that our current monarch, Queen Kathy, first of her name, banisher of conservatives, worshiper of the jab, she honestly thinks she's our mom. Like, she actually thinks she's helping. Now, the people around her obviously know it's all BS. But I think there may be a part of her thinking that she really is like our mom, only because she told us that she talks to God. So maybe. I do think that. John says, but Larry, I was told people leave New York State just because of the weather. That is what King Cuomo II said. He did say that. That was his decree. New York State can't control the weather, Larry. Gosh, when it's your fault, just blame the weather. Problem solved. Ooh, I like that. I'm just going to, whenever I have a problem, like if I can't pay my bills, I'm going to call a bank and go, it's the weather. Cuomo said that's the excuse. Problem solved. There we go, John. You know, if it works, I'll tell you. If I get evicted, then it didn't work. I'll let you know. Mike goes on to say, this is the reality of UBI, by the way. This is the issue, Mike. If you do UBI, which you know I'm not a fan, but the reality of it is, if you do UBI, it's forever. It's never going away. If you install it, it's installed. It's not a benefit. It's an entitlement. You are correct. You should understand that if we ever go down that road. 585-346-3000 is the number. Larry Sharpe on the Voice of Liberty in Western New York on Sharpe Way Radio. I'll be back with your calls and more of your chat. I see you after the break.
God bless America.
WYSL.
AM 1040 Avon, Rochester. WLEA, WCKR FM, Pornell.
Here's the latest forecast from the News 10 NBC Weather Center for tonight. We'll have increasing clouds, temps down near 30. On Wednesday, will turn out to be a cloudy day, mainly dry until late in the afternoon. Some rain showers will move in. Temperatures not as cold, getting up near 50. Much warmer on Thursday into the mid-60s, but there will be a gusty breeze and a few showers and thunderstorms. I'm Rich Cornelia for the Voice of Liberty.
FM Talk.
Canisteo Valley Update.
Yesterday, the Hornell High School varsity softball team defeated York 5-1. Also yesterday, the boys high school varsity baseball team lost to Keswick 6-1. In other news, the United Way of the Southern Tier has appointed Malia Smith as the new CEO. One of the big projects the United Way there has been involved with is helping people in places like Canisteo rebuild their homes since last August's flooding there.
We are still helping people recover from flooding. People are just now starting to, because it's spring, do the construction on their homes, and they're finding damage they didn't know they had, because you learn when you start to remodel something what else needs to be fixed. So we're still helping people with some of the expenses.
That was Lois Wilson from the United Way of the Southern Tier. I'm Brian O'Neill for the Voice of Liberty.
Spring is coming and so are the savings at Ralph Honda. Lease the 2025 Civic Sport Sedan CVT, only $209 a month. Find yours at Ralph Honda, getting you there for 3 generations. 2025 Honda Civic Sport Sedan CVT, $34.95 down, taxes and fees due at signage. A qualified buyer, see dealer for details.
Why are Christians pro-life? We believe God, revealed in Scripture, is the final authority for understanding what it means to be human and how to treat each other. God says that He intentionally created each person, that each person is made in His image and therefore carries inherent dignity. Scripture also reveals that all people are not only inherently valuable, but by virtue of the infinitely valuable shed blood of Jesus to save us from sin and death, shows that we are infinitely valuable. God expects us to act accordingly, reflecting His image back to God and to each other by protecting one another, starting from the moment of conception. Forge a more pro-life future, raising awareness about what it means to be human under God while raising funds to protect women and preborn boys and girls from abortion. Join the 2025 Walk for Life at compasscarewalk.com.
Debunking advertising from the law office of Christopher Johnson. Get a load of some of those injury attorney TV ads. There they are, rescuing cats out of trees, helping seniors with walkers cross the street, playing with slot cars, or getting people on the street to sing their musical jingle on camera. Are these guys running law firms or selling Klondike bars? Fun is fun, but when you've been seriously injured in a car, truck, or motorcycle crash, or on unsafe premises, funny stuff isn't your focus. Getting better and getting your life back on track is. That's where the one-on-one personal focus of Christopher Johnson comes in. When he represents you, you get 100% of his attention to help you get every dollar you're entitled to under the law. It's a client-focused commitment, not cuteness. This straight talk comes to you from Christopher Johnson, attorney, car, truck, motorcycle accidents, personal injury, and DWI defense. Call 585-415-3803. That's 585-415-3803.
At Tompkins Community Bank, business as usual becomes business accomplished with personal advice that helps you achieve big dreams. It's business accelerated with powerful banking solutions and fast, effective answers. And business amazing with cash management solutions that help you manage your growing success. Don't choose business as usual. Choose powerful and personal and the best banking relationship you'll ever have. Tompkins, your bank of choice. TompkinsBank.com. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
For the last couple of years, Joe Robach has been telling you about Flower City Collision in Henrietta, saying that it was started by a veteran along with his son, Zach. Hi, my name is Greg Sadwick, and I am that veteran. I want to thank the WYSL listeners for their support over the last couple of years. During those years, not only have I experienced the gratification of providing you the best repairs and customer service, has also allowed me the opportunity to see my son develop as a young professional. So remember, Flower City Collision for your collision repair needs. And thank you for supporting our locally owned family business.
Spring is coming and so are the savings at Ralph Honda. Lease the 2024 all-electric Honda Prologue Touring all-wheel drive, only $219 a month. Find yours at Ralph Honda, getting you there for 3 generations. 2024 Honda Prologue Touring all-wheel drive, $19.99 down plus taxes and fees due at signing to qualified buyers. See dealer for details.
Sharpe Way Radio on the WYSL stations.
Oh, yes, it is Larry Sharpe. Back here on Sharpe Way Radio on the Voice of Liberty in amazing Western New York. 585-346-3000 is the number. And I've been talking about a fictional 30-year-old who's been living in their parents' house all 30 years, never having to get a job, never having to get a trade, get a skill, go to school, pay rent, nothing, just sitting there. And now what happens when they have to go? And Gene says there's a difference between helping people and enabling them. Accurate, accurate, accurate. That whole piece is critical to understand because it's a secondary piece of this. Imagine now if, again, I'm that parent, I'm that bad parent who keeps my kid, 30-year-old, totally enabling them. And now I say, hey, you need to be in bed by midnight. And he goes, what do you mean in bed by midnight? I want to play video games all night long. And I go, no, I want you in bed by midnight. And he goes, I'm an adult. What are you talking about? You can't tell me what to do, Dad. I'm going to play video games all night. No, you're under my roof. You're going to follow my rules, right? Seems to make sense. You're going to be under my roof? That's what you got to do. He goes, okay, fine, Dad. Deals with it. He's mad. Wakes up in the morning. I see you're going to have eggs and bacon for breakfast. He goes, I want to have Captain Crunch cereal. No, you're going to have eggs and bacon. I'm deciding what you eat for breakfast. He says, I'm an adult, Dad. You can't do that to me. I want to have Captain Crunch cereal. And I go, no, my food. I pay for it. You're having bacon and eggs. Now, we're joking, obviously, here. But that's an issue, isn't it? Let me take that back to New York State. If New York State is enabling you, if New York State's paying for your health care, if New York State or New York City is paying for your pension, if New York City or New York State is paying your rent voucher, does it get to tell you what to do? Finding out right now, aren't we? We're having those issues. Does the 30-year-old have a point? He is an adult. That's true. He should be able to go to bed when he wants to go to bed, eat what he wants to eat. That's true. And he's not paying for any of it. So doesn't Dad have the right to go, no, you're eating what I tell you to eat. You're going to bed when I tell you to go to bed because I'm paying all the bills here. There's a point there too. So now New York State says you're going to live where I tell you to live, or buy the food I tell you to buy, or take the medical treatment that I tell you to take. I think we know where this is going. Or you're going to stay in your house when I tell you to stay in your house. And the funny part is, a lot of New Yorkers went, okay, all right, okay. And what did the wealthy do? They packed up and left. They left during the lockdowns. They left the jobs that they had to take a certain type of medical treatment. I'm also doing this on YouTube, so I have to say that. So yeah, they certain type of medical treatment. They had to do that. So they left. But what if you're working class? What if you're even middle class, but on teetering? What if you're working poor? You do what they say, don't you? If you're that 30-year-old and you didn't build out friendships and you didn't build out relationships because you sat online all day playing video games and you got no place to go, when Dad tells you you're eating bacon and eggs, you shut up and eat bacon and eggs. What are you going to do? no place to go, no cash, no community, no friends. You got no place to go. You eating bacon and eggs, and you're going to bed by midnight because dad says so. And you know what's funny? Is dad is righteous about it. It's like, yeah, taking care of my kid, doing the right stuff. The point is, it doesn't matter whether he's doing the right stuff or not. That 30-year-old should be able to do what he or she wants whenever they want to, but you got to get out there and be independent so you can do that. That's the point. So thank you for that, Jean. I think your point is right on the money. She goes on to say, when my eldest son moved back home after his wife left him, I gave him a 6-month time limit. He had moved out in 3 months. He now owns an own house of his own. Yes, and to be forward, Gene, people have problems all the time. Divorce destroys people. Does, 100%. So yeah, you know what? When you get divorced, you lose your spouse, death, you have an illness in the family, your own illness, of course, you need help. But you, I should say, but him, he was lucky. He had you. He had family. He had community. He had someone who was prepared to help him, not enable him. Say, you're in trouble now. I got you. People get in trouble. Come home. You got 6 months. Let's get going. And clearly you raised your son well enough that he got out in 3, right? Look, for someone to get out in 3 months, good for him. There are some people it takes longer. When I came back from Japan, I stayed with my mom for about a year till I got myself a new job, got a car, up and rock and rolling. And the worst part is, when that happened, my stepdad had a heart attack. So I had to stay an extra 6 months to help kind of get him, he survived it, to get him up and running. So I was at my mom's house about a year and a half. This is about 25 years ago, 30 years ago, give or take, when I came back from Japan. And I came back from Japan. I didn't have a house. I had nothing. So I went back to my mom, stayed with her for about a year. I was ready to go. And then boom, he has a heart attack. I stayed 6 more months. Then I was gone. So it took me a year. He got 3 months. Good for him. So anyway, I appreciate that tremendously. Dave says, Larry, most politicians in both parties, in DC and state capitals, treat us like children. True. They give us our freedoms like an allowance. Yes. And we should thank them for giving us our freedoms back. Yes, but they rarely give them back. But yes, yes. I remember, I think it was George Carlin, if I'm not mistaken, who said, we don't have rights. He said, we have privileges. And the leaders decide to give us privileges as they see fit. I hate that. But boy, he might be right. So I think it was George Carlin, if anyone happens to remember what that is. So yes. Kim goes on to say, there's a big difference between a hand up and a handout. And what I would say is, I've used a similar phrase. People say we want a safety net. And I say, yes, I think a safety net's a great idea. Doesn't have to be government, but I'm okay if the government has a safety net. The world's not going to end. I'm okay with that. And you're like, Larry, you're a libertarian. I'm a realistic person. I don't mind the government having a safety net. When you literally fall off the high wire, a safety net. What I don't want is a safety hammock. So you fall off and now you're in a hammock. No. Safety net. You fell down. Let's get you out the net. Get you back up on the tight wire. Get back up there. Come on. All good. Or whatever. Acrobat, whatever you're doing. Whatever cool thing you're doing. Go back to doing cool stuff. Whatever that is. Yes. But yeah, that's the issue. I completely agree. Yes. It was George Carlin. Gene says George Carlin was a wise man. Thank you. I thought it was him. Andrea says, I couldn't wait to get out of my parents' house. I do not understand people wanting to live with their parents after. Well, there's an issue here, Andrea. I'm with you. I joined the Marine Corps at 17. I couldn't wait to get out of my house. I couldn't wait to be a man. Couldn't wait. So I was out of my house for about 10 years, came back from Japan about 10 years later or so. I spent some time as an English teacher over there. And then when I came back, I went back to my mom, who I hadn't been with since I was 17. Stayed there and then got back on my feet again. So yeah, I think it's a good point, right? That most people want to get out. However, you may not know this. Now is the largest percentage ever in America of people under 30 who live with their parents. The highest. It's become the norm. Living alone is not a common thing anymore. If you've noticed, it's like a TikTok trend, like an Instagram trend, when particularly women, men not as much, but particularly women who say, I got my house on my own. I got my apartment on my own. And if this was 20 years ago, yeah, and like everyone does that. Now it's like a big deal. If you're 20 something and you live alone, you're hitting it big. Look at you go. You a billionaire. You basically Jeff Bezos. You're Elon Musk because you have a house by yourself now or a apartment by yourself now at like 28 or something, right? Whatever. Because so many people under 30 are unable to achieve that. Even if they leave their parents, they very often will have a roommate or something like that's very common, particularly in cities. I mean, the rents are just so insane. There are many, I guess, brokers or real estate brokers who will actually, they will advertise the rent in half, assuming you have a roommate. So if the roommate's $4,000 a month, they'll say $2,000 a month with roommate. That's how they advertise it. Because the assumption is you have a roommate. So I get what you're saying. It's a different world. It really is, Andrea. It's a different world. And again, I wish it wasn't. I think more people should be happy to live on their own, should want to live on their own, should want to get out there. But I get it. It's a tough economy. Things are expensive. And there's almost like a new norm, if that makes any sense. There's a new norm in people assuming that they're not going to live alone. And that, again, is a generational piece. If you're my age, you assumed that, particularly if you were a man, you would eventually get a job, have your own cool bachelor pad, and you would impress the women and eventually get one and get married. That was the thing you did. Not now. Those days are gone. Maybe I'm nuts. Maybe they'll come back. I don't know. Anyway, Larry Sharpe here on Sharpe Way Radio, on the Voice of Liberty here in Western New York. 585-346-3000. Back with your calls and your chat after the break.
Donald Trump and conservatives may have won, but you know the left will unceasingly try to...
we have Roger.
Evil, targeting the innocent and God-fearing, especially...
You're welcome.
Help promote a truth-based society and try something different in 2025. The WYSL stations can grow your business, professional practice, or organization, so allocate your ad dollars here. Reach our huge audience, entertained, inspired, and informed by leading conservative thought. Affordable, effective. The WYSL stations, the voice of liberty. Call 585-346-3000 to advertise.
I'm Greece Chamber of Commerce President and CEO Joe Robach. If you're looking to market and grow your business, make new business connections, and give back to the community in a meaningful way, consider joining the Greece Regional Chamber. We are the largest suburban chamber in Monroe County, and we offer networking, education, marketing, insurance, and advocacy. You do not need to live or work in Greece to join. Our members come from throughout the region. In short, we are better together, and together we can move your business forward. Visit greecechamber.org or call 585-227-7272 to join today. You'll be glad you did.
Avon Gun and Hunting Supply, a locally owned and operated gun shop specializing in pre-owned firearms and repairs. Get your rifle, shotgun, or pistol serviced and tuned before you take it to the field. Open from 10 a.m. Tuesday through Saturday. Avon Gun, East Main Street, next to Tompkins Community Bank.
Sharpe Way Radio on the WYSL stations.
Yes, it is Larry Sharpe here on Sharpe Way Radio, on the Voice of Liberty. So happy you're giving me a small chunk of your afternoon. I do want to grab a couple more comments here before I go to a call. Andrea says, I had roommates until I was 30. Then I got married and I have a permanent roommate. Oh, very sweet. And John says, moved back with my Kim. I think he means mom after my divorce. Yes, very common. I paid her energy and water bills as my rent, and I was out in a year's time. That's common, I think, for most people, which is why I was saying, Gene's son, well done. 3 months is fast. Most people who have a divorce or a problem like that, or for me, move countries, it's a year. For most, it's a year. Sometimes more, but most it's about a year. For her son to get out in 3 months, that's impressive. I would have thought 6 months to a year. John, took you a year, took me a year too, brother. Same thing, yes. So I appreciate that. Matt says, nanny state at its best. Or worst, depends how you think. Let me grab a call if I could. I'm going to grab Roger. Roger, how are you, sir?
Larry.
What's
going on? So, one of the reasons why you might have a situation where the kids don't move out, and I know even though I'm Gen X, I consider myself the oldest millennial because what's been happening to them, I was a canary in a coal mine. You know, I didn't move out till I was like 25, not because I wanted to stay at home, but those paychecks, those jobs were not paying hardly anything to move out.
Yep.
And it was cheaper back then. You know, we got to do something about closing the income inequality gap, or at least narrowing it. But
I agree. And it's why if you hear me often, I bring that up, right? The wealth gap in New York State is the worst in the entire country. I completely agree. No. I do want people to have more ownership, more wealth. I'm with you 100%.
So that sense of entitlement is more prevalent in the shareholder, big money donor business community. I think that argument should not be focused on those of us who are out here struggling. I mean, it says in the Constitution 3 times that the government, or at least specifically Congress, has an obligation to pay for and promote the general welfare. The problem is the Supreme Court thinks corporations are people and included that into the general welfare as well. If we have this debate on whether or not the everyday American should be able to do this on my tax dollars or that on my tax dollars, we can go down an endless rabbit hole. You could get the anti-war people saying, well, I don't believe in war, so why should my tax dollars go toward paying for your TRICARE? Or
I'm with you on the idea of not paying for war. I'm with you.
Or your kids' education in the Dodge School as your family's at a military base, as you're being used to launch coup d'etats and invasions into other countries on behalf of corporations that Congress has not even declared war on. If anything,
my point I'm bringing up here, I think you're right, and that was my point. If you noticed, I didn't take a stand on either way. I said I could see the 30-year-old's point, and I can see the dad's point. I can see them both. What I'm saying here in New York is we have a problem in that neither side even wants to take responsibility either way. They just keep perpetuating this bad situation. And my point is, if we had better communities, this would be a moot point. Better communities makes all this work. Better communities, tighter communities are immune from the corporate capture. My example of this is the Amish, right? That's my example of that. It's true. So tighter communities makes all of this moot. And that's why government goes out of its way to crush community. That's why it does it.
Mutual aid is what you're talking about.
100%, right? Look, I'm a libertarian. I think mutual aid is wonderful. Mutual aid is voluntary, and it's all about helping people. Look, it's
another call on hold.
Right, Jean did with her son. She gave him mutual aid. She said, I love you. You're my son. Come on home. I'm going to give you a leg up so you can get back in action. John's mom did that for him. My mom did that for me. That's literally mutual aid at a family level. Why can't we move that to a community level? Am I wrong?
Mutual aid can be your army for ballot initiatives.
There we go. I love it. Roger, I got to grab a call, my friend. I appreciate it. Thank you. So let me grab another call if I could.
The mic.
Mike, how are you? Are you there?
Oh, I'm here. Larry.
How are you?
Oh, hey, pretty good. Hey, listen, I know Roger's ballot initiatives and everything. Well, listen.
Roger loves his ballot initiatives, and I agree with him.
Well, that's good, but this place has been run by socialists for the last 40 years. Okay,
Yep.
You know what the saying is about socialism? Socialism works until you run out of other people's money.
Absolutely
Okay?
true.
We've already ran out of everybody's money. You already drove everybody out. So where it goes from socialism is the communism, the next ism. Okay. So
I would argue, Mike, that it doesn't go to that. I think it goes actually to authoritarianism. To just straight, I control everything. I know it all. You people are all dumb. You've ruined it. Do as I say.
Well, that's our queen, the beloved Casey Hochul, first in her name only, or whatever.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. So when she wins again this fall, okay, because you know it's a given, unfortunately. I'm hoping not. I'm hoping you. I'm hoping. Listen, I'm an optimistic person. My wife says I'm nuts. Okay, I'm optimistic. I'm like, I think Larry's gonna win if he runs. She looks and she laughs at me. 40 years later, she says I'm optimistic. Okay, she says this place is going downhill, and even she said, you know what? Maybe we should have bought some property out of state. I'm looking at her. I'm like, been telling you that for the last 30 years, but don't listen to me. Well, as far as the children, you know, we've created a whole society here in New York of people. Okay, we see it in our cities. We allow the children to keep running around and committing crimes. You don't punish them. You didn't punish them when they were young. How are you going to punish them when they're older?
Well, that is my entire
2 minutes.
Right? My entire point, Mike, is that while we can be mad at the people, and I get that, we can be, and we have to also be mad at our government. This is what Roger and I were just talking about, right? I understand that 30-year-old who would say, Dad, you can't do this to me. I get it. And I understand Dad saying, I pay the bills, do as I say. I understand both of them, but neither one of them is going to be able to move forward effectively if they don't solve that initial problem, which is the son cannot be on his own. That's the critical distinction, right? And the dad is enabling, he's not helping. And our state has to do that.
Our state is not going. Our state's not going to do that. We see it already. I do. You're
right. I'm up against a hard break, my friend. I apologize. Look, the goal here should be to help. People need help, not enable. That's the problem, and we can fix it. Thank you so much for giving me a chunk of your afternoon. I will see you all very soon.
Thanks. Have a good day.